Hello again, and thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Philly. Dips, and today we're going to be having another one of my world-famous tales from the table. First things first, hi, I'm back from vacation, I'm alive. So how it worked, I went to Florida and stayed there, and then we made a side trip to South Carolina in Saluna County. Shout out to anyone watching from Saluna County. And there where we watched the totality. And we did use protective goggles or glasses rather for the solar eclipse during the partial part, and it was made by NASA, or at least certified by NASA, and it is safe for direct solar observation, which is pretty neat. I'll leave that there. Yeah, it was a good vacation, and other than contracting some mild gingivitis from forgetting my toothpaste for this side trip, it was a very fun, exciting, cool, interesting, astronomical thing to do, and I think it's definitely cool to be part of this great American solar eclipse, as it was branded. But in any case, let's get started. So you may recall last time on the Chronicles of the Queen's Gambit 2, the party pretty much got their asses handed to them by Sheol, the Blue Dragon Queen of Tikaboo Island. They went into her lair, seeking to loot her treasure and slay her and set the citizens of the island free, or at least the kobolds and the Sahuagins and their friends free. What they failed to realize was that Sheol was a lot stronger than them, and they were very ill prepared to not only take on this dangerous dungeon, but also fight Sheol themselves. So they were captured by Sheol. Sheol wasn't particularly interested in eating them or murdering them or flaying their skins off their backs, whatever it may be. She had them captured and brought to Timbuk Slave Camp. That's right. Sheol did have a host of slaves who just kind of did whatever she needed them to do. So Timbuk Slave Camp is a slave camp, a sort of shot-in kind of, imagine like wooden stake fence, kind of low quality prison, where 24 maximum slaves work out of to serve Sheol. This may be picking apples, or mining silver, or doing odd jobs for Sheol, or just, waiting on her, feeding her, bringing her, samples of her wealth. And this is where they all lived. And they were sentenced to slavery for life, is what she said. So, at this point, I fast-forwarded the game by 1 month. Now, why did I do that? It's because I know my group very well. And if there's one thing my group does not do, is they do not look around the surroundings first. They act immediately. They don't look around their surroundings or make a judgment based on logic. They act on passion. So I thought it would be best and most interesting for the game if I had them wait 1 month, sit in the prison, do as they're told, make some friends, make some enemies, and then let gameplay continue. So some may argue that is railroading, but I disagree. I think it was a much needed break from the fast-paced action, because it wouldn't be very cool or fun or cinematic if they got dumped in prison and then escaped immediately. Because I knew in my heart they were going to escape as soon as they got the chance. So, why have them escape in 30 seconds when they can escape after 1 month in 30 seconds? Although, what the players didn't realize is that I put a lot of work into this prison, or slave camp, because when we were playing this session, I was really into Prison Architect, and I made an entire like slave camp. We got history, information, guard patrol routes, notes on inmate notoriety, the layout of the prison, prison regime, schedules, gangs, allies to the party, escape attempts in the past. I sat down. I took 40 minutes, probably in geography class, to make this prison a prison. I made a location, and then I let them play in it. And actually, this is probably the hardest I've worked on a single session, because this is the Great Escape, as we now call it, or the first Great Escape. They get thrown in jail a lot, but the first Great Escape from Timbuk Slave Camp took an entire session, because they actually went pretty well Ocean's 11 and made a decent plan for a heist. So I'm going to cover all that in this episode, instead of having a stupid 10-minute episode where I'm stuttering trying to remember exactly what happened. But I've done my homework, I'm ready, so let's get started. Now, Timbuk Slave Camp is a it houses slaves in a fence in a T shape. So you can imagine it's like this. So it's like that, and then like that. Now the stem of the T is what they call the lock, and it's got two gates, like an airlock kind of thing. And the two gates can never be opened at once. That's against the rules. So that one at a time, so they let people in and out. The two buildings in the main complex is the cell block where the prisoners live, and the guardhouse, which has guard living quarters, offices, but also what else we have here? An armory. Yes, right. There's an armory full of guns, swords, bows, basically everything that they will need to crush any opposition in the camp. The guards, speaking of which, there are 6. Now, unlike in the real world, where prison guard isn't really, like corrections officer isn't really a wanted position per se among police officers, this is a very prestigious position to have working in a slave camp, at least for the cohorts of Shield. So there are 6 guards, 5 lieutenants, and 1 captain. So the captain's name is Captain Willinger. Willinger is actually a human. And then there are 5 unimportant lieutenant guards, and they all have patrol routes. The captain just kind of supervises. There's 2 towers, like 2 watchtowers that 2 of the guards stand in. One of them patrols the cell block, and 2 of them patrol the courtyard where the orchard is, the apple orchard. There's also train tracks. A train track leads into the into the prison. And it's used for a couple reasons. It's used to bring supplies into the prison. It's used to take prisoners out to the mine to work, the silver mine, which is off property. And it's used to take goods of apples and silver to Shield's lair. So there are 3 trains every day. There's one for supplies, one for the commute to the mine, and then one that brings the goods to the lair, which is also the one that brings people back from the mine. In addition to that, the train is run by a separate staff, and they have an armed crew on board. So there's not just one lowly engineer who can get easily robbed. So this is it's not the most high tech prison in the entire world, but they took what they had and they made a pretty secure prison. In the past, there had been 2 escape attempts, both of which had ended in the execution of all involved. There's also a prison riot once, where all the guards were killed, and all but 1 prisoner was killed, when an intervention team came in to break it up. And note for all the DMs out there, if you want your players to do something cool, then make a location. Like if you want, if they're like, hey guys, let's go rob. If they just want to rob stuff and rob banks, make a bank. I've done that before. Right? Make a bank. Decide how it works, figure out the bureaucracy, and then let them play in it. And also, this is kind of dragging on, but one more thing. There are 2 gangs in the prison. One of them's kind of neutral to them, but they're the biggest gang. And the smaller gang is called the Snakes, and they're hostile to the party. So they cause him trouble later on in the story. By the way, I did print this out just for this episode, so that's the kind of dedication we have here on Tales from the Table. So we find ourselves with the party in prison. They're always doing general prison duties. It's about noon. Some of them are washing up, I don't know, just dishes or whatever. Some of them are picking apples. One of them is Iris. Was it Iris? No, Gorin. Gorin is hospitalized, or not? Well, hospitalized in the sense that he's just sitting in a cell because he got hurt in a fight. And yeah, everyone's kind of doing general prison things, although nobody is off-site with Shield or or in the mine. They're all in the prison right now. Now, luckily, the party, including Emily Young, have also made a friend. His name is Jack White, which is arguably the whitest name you could have. But Jack White was a friend of theirs. He was captured by Shield and brought to the slave camp when his cargo ship was sunk off the north coast of Wacky Island. And so he was brought to this slave camp and just made to work for life. But he made friends with them, and he earlier on, when Emily was attacked by the snakes, he sort of defended them and started a bit of a fight. So they're all working when the guards call for lunch break. Lunch break is 15 minutes long. They're all working and, having a miserable time when the guards call for lunch break. Lunch break is 15 minutes long. And so they all gather around to eat their, I don't know, whatever slop was being served today, probably turkey entrails, I don't know. And they're all sitting around eating. And Enzio says, guys, we are escaping tomorrow. And, everyone's kind of shocked and appalled at this. Like, what do you mean, Enzio? That's not possible. This place is not possible to escape from. Not, at least not with what we have. And Enzio's like, don't worry, I've got a plan. And it's a very grand Ocean's 11 style plan. And it was actually a pretty good one that he came up with, like, in the early minutes of the session when everyone was still showing up and everyone was, like, having a chat, putting the chips on the table. He had a plan in his mind of what to do. So here's how it was supposed to go down. They were going to start, as soon as lunch ended, they were going to start a fight in the courtyard. Like a big fight, like, multiple on multiple. And once they got enough people involved, and what they wanted to do was get the two big gangs. The two big gangs fighting, the Snakes and the Merfolk. The Merfolk, all the gangs have shanks on them, so it will be pretty bloody. The aftermath. After this, they're all gonna go hide in their cells. While the guards are working on cleaning it up, they're gonna use that opportunity to sneak out the back way, and then in the chaos, they're going to go to the lock and just slip through. Now, it sounds crazy and stupid and not going to work, which I genuinely thought this would not work. I genuinely did, because the lock is locked. It's called the lock. So I thought they would just, be executed immediately for attempting to escape, because that's the penalty for attempting to escape. So they're like, okay, sure. So lunch ended, and Enzio immediately went up to the biggest guy in the Snakes and socked him in the face. And so this, of course, prompted a fight. So while they're chasing him around the courtyard, he goes to somebody else in the Merfolk gang, socked one of them in the face. And then the rest of the party sees what he's trying to do, and they go join him, start punching everybody. And pretty soon, the entire prison, or at least all the prisoners anyway, are in a bit of a slug out. Enzio managed to lose the guys he had punched, get off their trail. I think he rolled a good, he must have rolled a good acrobatics check or something to escape, or a stealth check maybe. But he got out of there. And so it's like, guys, okay, let's go. Hide in the cells, wait for this all to blow over. So they all run to the cell block. Except for Chikaliku and Iris. They are, in this generally low intelligence party, they have the highest intelligence. So what they do is instead of going to the cell block, they run across the courtyard, or like, tiptoe across to the guardhouse. Now, all the guards right now are working on trying to break up this fight and figure out who instigated it. So the guardhouse is empty, and I'm sitting there at the end of the table like, you clever sons of bitches. They went into the place and they found the armory. Unfortunately, the armory is locked behind a heavy steel door. And keep in mind, Chikaliku and Iris are a seeker, which is just a magical archer, and a paladin, respectively. So no real lock-picking skills about them, at least not in a skills in a numerical sense. So Chikaliku tries to get the door picked with his Iris. He takes his claws, his long claws, tries to pick the lock. It doesn't work. Chikaliku is like, okay, we're gonna brute force it with me, and they try to use their shoulders just to do the whole thing the breach and clear from the movies. Doesn't work. So they're messing around here. Meanwhile, the rest of the party is in their cells and they're hiding under their beds. And I'm like, and so the party is split up now. Out of character, Enzio is yelling at Chikaliku and Iris, telling them to come back with them. But he's not there. He can't communicate with their characters. So they keep trying to turn the door because they're convinced that if they get in there, it's over. GG. Because the guards don't carry weapons, right? They don't have guns or anything. Because in real life, corrections officers, they don't carry weapons. They have their fists and maybe some pepper spray, and that's it to resolve conflicts. That's why it's such a dangerous job. Because they can't carry weapons, right? Because then if an inmate got the best of them, they would have a weapon. But the armory nonetheless has weapons for them if things get too awry. So they're here trying to get into the armory, and when suddenly a guard comes in with a longsword, and they're like, how did he get a longsword? And what they didn't know is that scattered around the prison, there are not 4, not 5, but 8 weapon caches. For guards only, that each contain 2 longswords. So they found one of those in the midst of the chaos and just busted out the longsword. So he runs in there, probably looking to find a gun or something, and he immediately finds them. They put their hands up. They don't want to take on this guy without a weapon. So he, not knowing what to do with the 2 inmates, he just grabs them both by the hands with their swords at the back. They didn't try to escape or anything. They just they let it happen, and they brought them to the cell block. And they took them into this room for solitary confinement. And yes, this prison camp did have solitary confinement. Debate in the comments if it's ethical as you will, but it's D&D. There was only one solitary confinement cell, so it wasn't really a solitary confinement. But regardless, he brings them in there and chucks them in there and says, "Okay, wait here, not a peep out of you." And they turn around, or the guard turns around rather, to go out the courtyard to deal with the fight. And Iris is thinking to himself, "No, it's over. We can't let this happen." So without thinking, he punches Chikaliku in the face. And he's like, "Ah, what the hell was that, man?" And then they start fighting. They start brawling. So the guard at this point is kind of obligated to help them. So he turns around, goes to the door, cracks it open, and then immediately, Iris, in all of his Dragonborn glory, busts out, pins him to the ground, and tears out his jugular vein with her teeth. And I had to applaud him because that was actually a brilliant plan. I thought they were just gonna sit there for the session, but yeah, she rolled a good Iris is a she, by the way. She rolled a good grapple check or something, a good strength check, or whatever it was, and the guy he kind of looks in shock, and then just bleeds out and dies. So the good news is now one of the 6 guards is dead. They have his longsword and they have his keys, skeleton keys to all the cells the towers, the lock, and the armory. So at this point, they're in business. So what they do is they go ahead and warn, or no, they go into the armory, they gear up, they get armor on, swords, guns, whatever they might need. They step out into this courtyard, and the prisoners who were involved in the fight have all been, like, they're all, like, on their knees, like, with their hands in the head. The fight's been broken up. It's, the riot's over, and the guards plan to decimate them. And if you know anything about the Roman Empire, or fractions, you know that decimate does not mean to completely destroy. It means to remove 1/10. And in the Roman Empire, if like a, what was it called? I forgot the Latin name, but if a group of a century of soldiers, which is 100 men, if they abandon, or if they try to, I don't know, just if they really mess up, they get decimated. So every 10th man is executed in the century. So at this point, there were only, 5, 6, 7, 24 minus 7. There were 18. There were 18 prisoners there. So they decided to just kill 2 of them and call it a decimation. So, they're in the middle of explaining the decimation system. When Chigaliku and Aaron, they get out and they go guns blazing. They open fire on the guards. At which point, the party in the other cell block have grown bored, and they decided to look around the cell blocks to see if they can find anything useful. The cell block, it's in an L shape, like this. So there's a door here and a door here, so that they're looking around trying to find anything that would be of use. But there's really not. So they step out as well because they hear the gunfire, and everything's more or less gone wrong. When suddenly it's time for the train to roll in. The train pulls into station, completely oblivious to this riot and shootout that's going on. And the guards are dying. Like two more of them die, I think. So there's just 3 left, and they are retreat. And the prisoners start breaking up, and they run out to take cover from the gunfire. But the train pulls into the station. The guards hop off, or the armed guards hop off of the train. It's a bit of a fight. The engineer is trying to get the train back going because they already released the steam pressure. They're trying to get it back going and get out of there as fast as possible because there's a gunfight happening in a prison. The party does not waste this opportunity. They hop onto the train, and the train's already moving in reverse, trying to. I'm not really a locomotive expert, but use the loop to get oriented back correctly. They go around, so they can head back towards Shield's lair. So the train starts to move, and slowly moving, and the party, they all hop on to the train. Some of them go for the cargo container, some of them go for the locomotive, some of them go for the coal storage, whatever it may be. But they all get on before the train pulls out, speeding away. So they pull the guy at sword point, up to his neck, and they're like, "Hey, listen to me, pal. You are going to take us to Shield's lair," and they roll a good intimidate check. You're going to take us to Shield's lair. You're going to present us as good guys. What did it say? You're going to act casual and tell everyone to leave so we can get off the train and go get our stuff back from Shield, because Shield had impounded their stuff in her own little personal treasure hoard. And he's like, "Okay, very well." And it's and you're going to turn the train around back towards the prison and wait for us. Do you understand? Yes. And we will kill you. We will find you and we will kill you if you disobey us. And he's terrified out of his mind. He's just an engineer. He's like, "Yeah, sure, all right, cool, sounds good." So the train pulls into a stop, and the engineer gives them the all clear, tells them to leave, which works. So they all go back inside the lair, At which point they get off the train, and they have their stuff in the armory. So they run back into the dungeon for a fight. And they just run past everybody. There's people in the chapel. There's people in the dormitory. They run past everything down to Shiel. But Shiel is not there. Where could she be? So they start digging around like the piles of gold, and they can't find their stuff. And they're like among all this gold and her 2 ships that she has on display in her little personal museum of boats. They can't find their stuff, and they don't know where Shiel is. So they go back. Hold on. Yeah. They start looking around for secret doors, because, you know, the players that look for secret doors. They feel around the walls, they roll perception checks, and they find one. It's a false door in the wall. They pull it open, and they are greeted by a blast of lightning from Shield. How did she know that they were going to be there? Who knows? At this point, she flies out and ready for a fight. Some of the guys, they start to hold off Shield, while others of them, they dive back into the room she was in, and lo and behold, all their stuff is there. So they're like, you know, they're passing their weapons around. They obviously can't get their armor on, but they have armor from the prison. So they get what they can, and they're also pretty injured from the fight in the prison. So at which point, Enzio is like, guys, we gotta get out of here. Let's leave. So they leave, but not before Chikaliku grabs a lamp, like an oil lamp, and everybody already knows where this is going. The oil lamp has got a genie in it. So they run back up the stairs out onto the train. Go, 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 guy. And so they turn back towards the station. And they're speeding up and they're heading out. And the guys, they're like, they have the sword to his throat. It's like, guy, keep driving. We will kill you. Chikaliku decides to rub the lamp. And a genie comes out. They weren't really supposed to grab that, I don't think. But I at this point, the session had gone so out of my what I could have predicted that anything went. So the genie's like, good evening, gentlemen, or afternoon. I will grant you 3 wishes. And like, gosh, 3 wishes, and we gotta decide it pretty fast. At this point, the engineer announced that the train, the brake had broken. So that's probably a problem. So they're careening at full speed towards the prison with the genie, and the train's brake was broken. So the genie's like, well, you're running out of time, guys. You better choose a wish pretty fast. So the first thing they request is all their stuff back, because they didn't have time to grab all their stuff. So they requested all their stuff be brought back to them. And like he stands there, it's like, all right, there you go, all your items as requested. 2 wishes left, guys. And Chikaliku, being the good guy he is, he turns to the engineer and says, hey, man, what do you want? And he's like, what? What do you want for a wish? Anything you want. He's like, I don't know. And it's like, and Enzio is like, okay, he wants a harem of beautiful women. So the genie like snaps his fingers, and you know, presto, a harem of women appear, and they push him off the train. And he's like, you know, enjoy, as they speed away. At this point, they're getting pretty close at full speed to the prison camp, and it's gonna be a pretty hard impact. And so they're running out of ideas, and they're working on it. It's like, what do we do? What do we do? And moments before it impact or derailing an impact with the prison, Enzio shouts out, or no, Goran shouts out, "I wish this train could fly." Genie snaps his fingers, vanishes, and the train can fly. And flies up and away, off the island. The party was free of the island, but what else awaits them? Find out next time on Tales from the Table. Goodbye.